Steven Espinoza, the head of Showtime Sports. Steven, you've got a huge fight coming, obviously, on September 14th with Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Canelo Alvarez. In making this fight, was it difficult to get either or both of the parties to the table to get them to commit to this fight?
It wasn't difficult to get them to the table at all. There were some details in making the deal and closing it that were a little bit difficult, like the weight. I think it's been discussed and well documented. But in terms of getting them to do the fight, it was one of those rare situations where both guys wanted it. There was no arm twisting. Floyd had come into us before he did his deal with Showtime and said two things. One, I want to fight more frequently. This is maybe the last stages of my career. I want to be very active. And two, I want to fight the best available guy each time. And there was some skepticism when he said both of those things.
Yeah.
I looked him in the eye. He told me that. He shook my hand on it, and he's lived up to every word of it. So I think that's fully his intent in this last stage, is to take tough fights and take big fights, and not take any easy ones off.
Still, at the end of the day, before he finally signed on the dotted line, were you surprised at the end of the day that he would fight? I don't think he's fought this frequently since 2005, if not longer.
Not that I didn't believe him, but you're right. It has been a radical departure from the way he's carried on his career for the last 6-7 years. I don't think he's fought this frequently. I think it's been 10 years, even when he was fighting a couple times a year. To do 2 fights 4 months apart, it's been quite a while since he done it. So it's a pleasant surprise. And actually, going forward, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he kept staying this active, this frequently going forward. Because once you get in this rhythm, I don't think we're going to see long periods of time of 6, 8, 12 months where he doesn't fight. I think we're going to see a lot of Floyd Mayweather in the near future.
Great. What are your what's your take on how the pay-per-view will fare? What's your expectations? Will it break the record that Mayweather and De La Hoya did in 2007?
It's a tough record to break. It's a big number. The television market is different. People's viewing habits are different. It's a lot more fragmented of audience. So I'm not sure we'll ever see a number like that before. There's a lot more pay-per-view sports out there. Back in 2007, we didn't have UFC going every month. We didn't have Bellator. It's just a very different TV market. Having said that, if there's a fight that is going to break the record, this is probably it. But I'd like to be conservative on these things, and I think just by the nature of what the audiences are doing nowadays, it's really hard to get that many people to generate that kind of activity.
What are the prices for the pay-per-view? And from your perspective, you're selling the fight to the audience here, to the Los Angeles market. Why should they buy the pay-per-view?
The price is $64.95, which is a $5 increase from the last couple of Mayweather pay-per-views. And then they're, depending on the satellite or the cable company, some companies add a $10 charge for an HD signal. I think what we can really truthfully say about this fight without really overhyping it or puffing it up, it has the potential of being a historic event. It is probably top to bottom one of the best, if not the best, pay-per-view cards in the last 10, 15 years. And it's the fight that is the riskiest, for Floyd since probably, Diego Corrales, which is 10 years ago. So, no one wants to miss the fight that Floyd loses, and this could be it. I mean, people kick themselves over, not watching Tyson Douglas. This is a risky fight. Floyd will be outweighed probably 18 to 20 pounds on fight night by a younger, stronger, bigger guy. There's real risk here, and I think that's a big reason why the audience has responded so positively to it.
And I think one of the other things that's interesting about it is the Canelo audience. I mean, it keeps growing by such incredible numbers. I mean, you were there in San Antonio, and you saw a sold-out Alamo Dome, which is stunning for a 22-year-old kid. The interest in this kid is only going to rise, and who knows how high it can get. What's your thoughts on his?
He is a phenomenon. It has developed into almost a mania. And the last time you saw this with a Mexican-born athlete, or the Mexican athlete, is probably Fernando Valenzuela. And it's a similar type hysteria in the Mexican audience. And what we're seeing the last 6 months is that the English language audience, the mainstream audience, is finding out about this redheaded guy who, has got a lot of buzz, and it's catching on like wildfire. It was, definitely clearly started as sort of a Mexican American audience, and now I think there's been some pent up demand for a new, fresh face in boxing. He's good looking, he's humble, and above all, he's a very skilled boxer. And so I think that's the other part of the equation. You've got, an opponent, Mayweather, who's, pulling in his own fan base, which is sizable, and it's been quite a while since, it's been since the De La Hoya fight that one of Floyd's opponents had the type of fan base that he brings.
Right. Well, it should be a great evening of boxing. Thank you so much for your time, Steven.
Absolutely.